I think self-interest stagnates, the progress, our progress in moving forward. I'll give you an example of something you just said, reminded me. So, our mayor and councilwoman, his sister-in-law, Sarah, they campaign on protecting the citizens and, we need a safer community, but then they vote against the school resource officer and helping things like that. Or, there was a big thing where Mayor Robertson, he did not want to support, the previous police chief, 2 police chiefs back, and then they opposed the building of a new police station. And it was just a big fight. And then now he puts his, hey, I'm for the police and all this stuff. I just don't like that double, minded thing to come out. Again, that's politicking to me.
Yeah.
But say who you are, stick with it, and be true to the man or woman you are. And don't just now it's I want, like you said, you want to put your fingerprint on it and your thumbprint on it. I mean, I'm not a politician, Jose. I'm not a politician. I just want to be a fair representative to the community and the citizens of Selma.
What's up, everybody, man? This is your boy, Jose Cruz. Yes, your favorite Native American here in the Central Valley. Man, you know what? Just to give you guys a heads up on where we're at, we just ended season 2, not too long ago. So go check out those season 1, 2, and our pilot episodes, man. You guys are missing out on some awesome content. But, we got a lot of things going on for my personal life, my business, Kairos Media, and now here to podcast, So where I've been at with the podcast, we've been shooting a lot of remote podcasts. This podcast in particular, these quick special releases, impromptu podcasts, are where I'm going to always stay doing, even in seasons and out of them. So this podcast today, man, is going to be an awesome one. But just stay tuned. You guys are going to see the set the way it is now, the new update. It's not done, but your boy stay working all the time. So yes, today we have a special guest. We have my good friend, Pastor Louis Quintana. How you doing, sir?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me. This is quite a setup you have, so it's cool to be here. Thanks.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I know. We've been talking about getting you on because of the topic we're going to talk about today, because we got the big sign in front, and so it's
there it is.
I know it's an important time, at least in Selma, at least in our, the state and in our nation, a lot of voting and stuff. And, we'll just get straight into that. But before we get straight into that, let's get to know you, man. Let's introduce yourself, where you're from, where'd you grow up. Let's kind of get to know you before we get into the details.
Absolutely. So, I'm a longtime Selma resident. I grew up in Selma, born and raised. Well, I was born in Fresno. All the longtime Valley people will remember VMC, Valley Medical Center.
Yeah.
So I don't think Selma had a birthing center at that time. So, I had to rush all the way up to Fresno. But again, my roots have been Selma. I'm like a 3rd generation resident of Selma, California. So, met my beautiful wife in Selma. Her family kind of moved around, and I think she was born in Visalia, and then kind of moved with job to job with her father. And we met at church. We met at the same church, and our families, we were going to the same church. So we grew up, with that kind of culture and that life right in Selma, small community, just born and raised again with home values. Really strong family values, again with God just being right in the center of that. So we're big on faith and family and our friends, our network of friends, and that's what Selma used to be. I mean, really, we think about that, and my beautiful wife's sitting over here, and
she's in the audience.
She's in the audience. But I mean, that's kind of what we are used to, what we were used to growing up, and we settled into life in the Valley because we were from life in the Valley, right? We live here, born here. Went to Selma schools, was kind of, I'd say raised up with just the mindset of small town values. Back then, Selma was different. I mean, you could ride your bike all around town without having any issue at all. I used to play with my friends, and my mom and dad would, I don't know if my dad knew, but my mom would let us go ride our bikes, and we would go across town. And so I tell these stories now when my mom's listening and dad's listening.
She going, you gonna get it?
Yeah. So when I preach, from the stage, I preach and teach and talk to them, say things. It's like, I tell Elisa, it's like the lasso of truth, right? With Wonder Woman, have it around you, and you just confess everything from the stage right there.
That's funny.
But they hear stories for the first time whenever I talk. But we used to do that, man. We used to go all around town, play around, have fun, and then be home before
the street light.
Yeah, the street lights or just the sun sets. We used to make it home. So we had friends and family that we could trust. We could get along, and it was just a big community. I loved it. Even coming up October 29th here is the parade, the band festival. And that was a big thing for us. We'd all get together and hang out and enjoy, the festivities around the band festival. So there are cultural things in Selma that you grow up with and we grew up with all together that we remember, quite nostalgic for us thinking about it and how Selma used to be. I was born from a family. My parents, they actually worked hard in the fields. My dad would take us out to pick grapes. We used to live in the Vadio right there on Park Street, and we picked grapes right behind. There was a ranch out there, and I mean, we would work hard. And so I think my dad was trying to teach us work ethic. If you want to do better for yourself, and you don't want to be here in the fields, and go get a job or go to school or get a better job. Yeah. So I was more of a student. I was more, I loved school, where, my other two siblings, they were okay. They did what they did, but I just loved school. And so I excelled through my academics and just went through Selma High School. But also I was a scholar athlete there at Selma High, graduated in 1988. And played sports, baseball, football. My little claim to fame, I always tell all the people in Selma, because it's big in the Valley. All-star games are big, city, county. There was a North-South all-star football game, city-county all-star football game. I made both of those teams. And then in baseball, I made a city-county all-star baseball team. And so those are kind of like things I remember.
What was your positions?
So baseball, I played shortstop. And then in football, I played quarterback. And you learn a lot. And so I think back to those days and all the fundamental things and tools that have actually built me into the man I am, the husband I am, the father I am, the pastor I am, the leader I am. Those are the things that I look back to and think how important just playing quarterback was for my life. And even now, considering where I'm at, running for mayor. Yeah. All those things really come back and play a big part in my leadership development. Some people are like, how could that be? But if you play sports, you understand how big sports are for you. So after graduating, it was a crazy thing though. After graduating from high school, we had a great athletic director at that time, and he started putting out film for me, putting things out for colleges, and told him, I don't know what I want to do. And so I'm not going to go to college. He's like, what? Wow. Yeah, he was shocked. I think I kind of shocked a lot of people at that time. Man,
you could have been the Tom Brady of your era.
No way. I was too short. I was fast.
Hey, maybe Kyler Murray, man. It's like 4-2 on the Cardinals, man. The boy running around just like a little dart.
Maybe like Doug Flutie a little bit. But
Flutie.
That was my level. But it was...
the millions you could have made.
I think back about getting dreamy as a kid. What do I want to be when I grow up? We always want to be a pro athlete, or I did. But I just started to see that, that wasn't my career path for me. And so before just deciding to go to school and going to just go to school, that wasn't my thing. I didn't just want to go and waste my time. I wanted to go focused. So I talked to my parents, even talked to my pastor, at the time, and just considered where my life was at. And so I sat out of college for like 2 years. I worked at a grocery store in Selma. For all of you that remember Save Mart back in the day, and it was a great experience. Again, there's these jobs that you do, and you're growing like just these basic foundations in you, commitment, learning how to work with people, learning how to work with the public. Yeah. If you ever work a retail job, that is one crazy job to have in dealing with people in the public. You know,
Well, see, that's what I want to talk about too, because I know I want to get in. I want to continue to hear this, but I want to say that one thing Selma has a huge issue is the customer service, is the work ethic, is that, you know,
I see that.
And I do feel generations that kept passing and passing just got worse and worse. To where now they just don't care. You know, it's crazy. You know, I want to talk about that too. But
it's culture. A culture is shaped, you know, by where you live. You know, as far as, you know, how you're brought up, your mindset, things that it really does impact your work. But even that, I've always felt separate. My wife and I talk about this often. Like, we've never felt like connected completely. Excuse me. And I think that has to do with really the impact that Christ has made in our life, and really just understanding, you know, the Bible talks a lot about, you know, being called out. You're the called out ones, and being part of a church, you're called out. And things like that have been just naturally felt, you know, in our hearts. And so in that whole environment living in Selma, even though we've assimilated and we were part of the culture, we always did feel different. And strictly because of that, like, you know, we didn't lie, we didn't cheat, we didn't steal, you know, we upheld our values, our core values and who we are. We saw that going around, even our own family, you know, things like that were just all around us. But again, we just couldn't move away or deviate from just the standard of who we knew we were. That in itself, I think, has a lot to do with your upbringing, and it gets passed down, like you said, you know, generation to generation. And for us, the only way to renew that is to have a new birth in Christ. And I'm pretty bold about that, and I don't hold back. It's a life lived in Christ, and it will change your whole generations. And so, going forward, though, after 2 years, when I started just thinking about what I wanted to do, I thought maybe the medical field would be something that I would consider. And it was pretty broad, you know, doctor, physical therapist. I didn't even really consider nursing. But one of the things that was really available to me at the time, I had a doctor who had a physician assistant, a nurse practitioner, and every time I'd go in, I thought he was a doctor, you know. So at that time, I was going to school and I was considering my major. I started back at Fresno City College, went to Fresno City, and didn't want to spend the big bucks, you know, right away at Fresno State. So I went to the city and started on my general ed. Started working toward a physical therapy major. Then you start seeing like the opportunities out there, and then you see all the clubs and all these different like organizations, and then they start recruiting. They were looking for young, I would say, you know, people who were driven to go into the medical field to be doctors. So they were looking at young Latino males to represent the San Joaquin Valley, because it's a very underserved area for doctors. So I was brought into this program. I sat with UCSF students, and they were trying to mentor you and pull you in to consider going to med school. And so I did some observation with some of the doctors and some of the people that were there, some of the students, and I thought, I'm not called to be a doctor. So I stayed right around the area of physical therapy. And then my doctor, again, I went in to see a nurse practitioner. I'm like, "Are you a doctor?" He's like, "No, I'm a nurse practitioner / PA." And so had lunch with him. And so Brad Arnsberger, thank you for your counsel. It was awesome. And he really, really just sat down and talked to me about what he did. And I was like, I'm sold. This is one of the best things I've ever heard, for the reason that I'm still working with people. I want to help people in the realm of healthcare. And it opened up opportunity for me to actually travel. I wanted to travel and go see the world with helping people, medical missions and things. And so I thought that would open up doors in the future. And it did. It really did. So that just started my whole journey. Graduated from Fresno City, went into Fresno State, got into their nursing program, graduated with a bachelor's of nursing, BSN, and passed my NCLEX on the first attempt, which is a really hard feat. We're talking to our daughter who is going into nursing now. And so it was one of those things where, you know, you look back and you see all the hard work and the effort that you put in, and nobody could take that away from you. And so I always thought I'd be on Bulldog Bulldog Stadium on the field, playing football. I had that dream going to watch the Bulldogs. But I remember walking down the ramp onto the field on graduation day and standing up and then looking in the stands. And it kind of chokes me up when I talk about it because I'm like, I did it. Here I am. I'm here. I raised my hands and like, yeah. It was one of the greatest feelings that I ever felt.
That's cool.
And I was the first one in my family to go to college. None of them went to college. Even with some of my cousins, they had graduated. Now my uncles went back later, as adults, and they went to college and they got their degrees. But I was just like trying to figure out, hey, I'm going to do it, how to do it. It took me a while to do it, but I worked myself through school. I finally got through, man. And I say this, nobody could ever take it away from you. It's hard work, but nobody could ever take that away from you. And so it was a great feeling. I remember looking up in the stands and looking for my family, and I found them, and we were just kind of cheering. It was a great. Oh yeah, it was great. It was a great experience.
Man,
I had a plan, and I stuck with it, and I got through. So, but anyway,
that's awesome because because again, like us, like U.S. citizens, Americans, people that when election time comes and people want to know the backstory, the story behind the glory. So what I like to say on the show. When I hear your story, man, I do hear the hard work. I do hear, I do see and hear the struggle, sure. The good times, the bad times, the continuum of, I got to do this. There's a goal in mind. There's something that you set on your heart, even though you had opportunities, you're discerning on what to pick. God, what do I do? And so to see that and where you're at now, man, that's a huge accomplishment. That's something that I feel like, as fathers, generational, like you said, we never, you're the first one, to go to college and graduate, and you had the moment. Now you have an, opportunity. Your daughters have that, because of the precedents. And so what I see, because I do want to get into this, because you had mentioned the mayoral run. It's just that you're setting an example of what it takes. 'Cause nothing comes free, man. Nothing comes to where it's, I exist and I'm here and I'm doing me now. Give me. It's like that's the world we live in. One thing I want to stay true on this show, man, is that in the reactions and the stuff I get is that I'm not just a podcast that I'm a Christian or I'm this, I'm that, I'm sports. Everybody has like a still here moment. They're still here, man. Sure. We went through this. Something happened. Someone said or this, but I'm still here. And so that's where I feel like. I want to find a way that people can relate to you. And that's where I find the common ground, and that's where I think
that's good.
Obviously where this conversation, I really want it to go, man, because it's, again, you have no intentions of like, I'm just trying to get mine. I'm just trying to get in this race. Cause I know you personally, and I don't get that from you. I'm not going to be biased. I'm not going to be like, oh, I'll go to his church or I helped him out. No, it's just, I see the person. And that's what I want to bring out the most, and so let's get on the topic, man. You're running for mayor in the city of Selma, California. Why are you interested in running for that position?
Just kind of reflecting on your words there. I've always lived my life really inclining my ear to what God was leading me into, and just in the seasons of my life. And I think that's important. If I could ever share anything with anybody is, especially Christians, you just quieting yourself and just waiting in a season where you don't know where to go, what to do, but you can hear the voice of God and you can be led into your next season. I live life in seasons. We live life in seasons, and like you said, you're still here. Well, you're still here. You still have breath in your lungs. Then there must be something else for you to do, right?
Yeah.
And so those are the things that I have considered, and even to the point of, again, my story goes there's a whole different, I'd say backstory to it, but knowing that I'm at where I'm at, and knowing that I believe that the Lord is leading me to do this, it's something that I don't have any self-interest really in doing for myself. I'm not prospering from it. It's a big investment of my own money into the campaign. I've only had like 2 donors. The majority of the time of money actually just comes from me. I'm not backed by a big, corporation or anything like that. It's so we've funded and we've invested in this campaign because we believe this is what God is telling us to do. Before we did it, we sat down and we're like, we're going to spend the money. We're going to do this because we feel that's what God is telling us to do. And so again, going back to the why or how did this happen? We moved away from Selma back in 1999 to go to Bible school. So I had my career. My wife had her career. She worked for a really prestigious hair salon here in Fresno, had her own business, had a great clientele. We would take vacations, on some of like her income because she was making more money than me.
Hey, they make some
she
money.
Was making more money than I was. I was like, I worked hard to go to school, and she made more money than me.
Hey, we'll put a mic on you, girl.
And we were like, so and I loved it. We were a team. We were a team, man. We worked together and we prospered together, and it was just a blessing, a time of blessings in a season in our life. But she gave up her career. I transitioned my career and moved to Texas and got my Texas, RN license. Didn't work for like maybe 6 months, I think it was, but we just focused on the season that God was moving us into. I'd always had a desire to be a pastor and to learn. So when we went over there, that's where the inner workings of things started really to come out, deep things, and learning about the nations of the world and how God has the nations on his heart, and knowing that America is not the savior of the world, but we are a part of the plan of God. And, looking at Israel, looking at America, and looking at how God's sovereignty really has led, each nation. But it comes down to a micro level, a really small community level. And every time we were in Texas, we moved to Texas, we went to Christ for the Nations, and we'd come back, we would visit Selma. And every time we'd come back, we'd see our cities in Texas growing. Growing just amazingly fast and beautiful. It was just awesome. New hospitals, new schools, new roads, new bridges, new parks, everything was brand new. But we come back to Selma, it was just like stagnated, and it was just going downhill. So we said, we'd never go back to Selma. And so all of that really just started turning our hearts toward Texas. Became our home. But then there were all these little things inside that were like, what if, or one day, or God has to do it. And I threw a few fleeces out to the Lord, and then it's like, whoa, God started to answer these things. I had a talk with one of my mentors in Texas, and we were talking about my hometown, and we're talking about my city. And he said, when you become mayor, I'll come down and I will do your invocation. And that struck me, man. And it was just a conversation.
Well, how long ago was this conversation?
This was probably in 2009.
Okay.
2000,
sometime ago.
Yeah. So it's been a while. And so just things like that had been coming up. And then, when I finally decided, I felt the Lord was leading back to Selma. And again, a place that I didn't want to be. I didn't really want to be here. But God put it in our hearts. We loved our city, and that moved us right back into our hometown. And thought, you know what, maybe I'll get involved politically. But my mentors were like, hey, just go assimilate, just help your family adjust and just start living life. And always had ministry in my heart too. Don't start a church, just go live life. So we did. And we just found ourselves back in kind of the mix. I go to the city council meetings, and it was just a mess. I stopped going. I didn't want any part of that. And I thought, well, how could I help change Selma? And the best way that came to me is, let's help it spiritually. Let's help bring people together. Let's see what we can do on a ministry level. So we went that route for a while, and then found ourselves taking over at New Hope Family Church, and just living our life, trying to serve Selma, different outreaches that we would do, and then even within the people that we were pastoring. And then that just started to, kind of morph, and we're grateful. We love it. And we were just kind of in that rhythm. COVID hit, kind of got shut down for a little bit. And, that was a whole different dynamic and thing. But all the stuff that was going on, kind of like in the council, I was aware of, I was listening, and kind of coming back to I'd say the point of where I was and why I was here. It was beyond just pastoring, get involved, now step out and do something a little bit more. And so started inclining my ear again into what was happening in the city. It was, again, a mess. There has been no growth. There's been just stagnation. We have some victories and we have huge losses. Victories, huge losses. But anyway, a lot of stuff, just no progress. And so I felt like, I think I could really make a difference there. And then met a couple of the council people. I had one of them come to my church and give like a State of the Union when he was the mayor there. He kind of gave it, and people were like, we didn't even know he was the mayor. I'm like, people don't get involved politically in Selma, which is interesting.
Yeah.
We just don't know what's going on. And so part of my duty now as a pastor is to really help people understand that we have a role politically. It's, being a Christian, it's personal, theological, but also it's political. And not that we're going to overtake the world, in politics, but we need to let our voices come out. So at this point, that's where I'm at. I feel like I need to let my voice be heard. I need to stand up in my community, in my city, and let whatever has been, molded and shaped in me as a man, as a leader, as a Christian, and I have a biblical worldview and how things should happen and should go in local government as well as state and federal government.
Yeah.
So I feel I have that place, and that's where I'm at today. I mean, I'm 52 years old. I'm married. I have 2 kids. My roots are in Selma, and I want to help change the culture within my community. And this is one way that I believe I get to do it. But I'm passionate about it. People are like, "Well, who asked you to run?" Or who are you? Who's backing you? I'm like, I feel I'm in the will of God. God has asked me to do it. And I'm going through and following Him. I'm following the Lord. So just to kind of put that at ease in people's minds.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, because again, that answered the whole, what made you want to run for mayor? Because again, it's a responsibility, man, and it's not just like, hey, I'm going to go be a mayor, but you have no ties, no experience, no upbringing into something in the community you have no idea about, and what I hear, because again, I want to stay in the middle, because again, I live in Clovis, so me and my family lived in Selma for about 12 years before we moved to Clovis, and when we were there, I just didn't like it. It was the community, the people are people, there are good people, there are bad people. That's just life, But when you go to the Walmart, you go to McDonald's, it's just your experience is just like, man, I don't know. I go out to eat out of Selma, that's what we did, but. Sure. So again, what I'm hearing is that you have some, obviously from just talking and now like 20 minutes in, it's like you've talked about your roots. Sure. Like you grew up in the community, you've seen, and experienced the up and downs of it. You still love it. That's why you're still here. That's why you're still there. And, and again, that's where I see like, hearing you personally, because again, you're a pastor, running for mayor. Yeah. That's like a side. Let's get into that. Yeah. What are the kickbacks? What are the things you're hearing? Yeah. How can a pastor, be a mayor? What are you hearing?
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a lot of politicking from the dais, where the council sits, and the mayor, the current mayor, Scott Robertson, he has come out just in random about separation of church and state.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting to hear. He dropped a line the other day about how he was proud of Iranian people standing up for Iran in this political revolution that they're experiencing right now. I'm like, what? Doesn't he understand that theocratic type of government, that religion runs the entire nation? And I believe he does, but he's trying to associate that with me, and so those are the little things that I'm just kind of hearing also from, pastors in the community as well.
I mean, that's a big statement and trying to associate with that.
Well, those are jabs taken from the dais, and again, I'm listening, I'm listening beyond the words, because those are like, what's that for? But he stated it even in a little thing he had written out. So separation of church and state is not constitutional. We have Bill of Rights. We have, all these things that we abide by, by the Constitution, and we live by. But separation of church and state was the state staying out of the church, not the church staying out of, government, or I should say it this way, Christians staying out of government. So the church was always on the forefront of leading, I'd say, the cultural, perspective of big political issues at that time. So they didn't have the internet and things that we have now and TV like we have now to broadcast the message. And I would say honestly too, because there's a lot of propaganda out there. There's a lot of misinformation that it's given through the media. But all that said is pastors were trusted. They were giving their, I'd say, God-given discernment in what to bring out to the community from a biblical perspective. And so if you read the headlines of some of the sermons that were, taught back in the late 1700s, early 1800s, a lot of those messages were very political. But we've kind of had a reversal of that in our culture in America. Oh, don't be so political from the stage. Don't, you can't talk about issues like that.
Yeah.
They'll take away your 501c3 status or whatever, and a lot of churches don't even they're not a 501c3 people. It's just not the way our laws are set up.
Yeah.
We fall underneath that. But, all that said to say that churches have a lot of rights and a lot of protection from our Constitution. And one of them is from the state. So it's from the government itself. We are protected. Now the government's going to come and try to tell us something different. So there's nothing wrong with a pastor stepping into a political realm.
Yeah.
All it is that's one of my professions. I'm a nurse. I still am bivocational, but I'm a pastor. All it is me just stepping in to live out my values in the political realm, in that scene. It wouldn't be any different than a plumber, a teacher, a business owner, an insurance agent. There's no difference. You live who you are.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring my perspective. People will disagree with me, but I believe, again, there is a better way that we can lead. We can lead with honesty, integrity. We can lead with transparency. We can lead with, again, the issue at hand and not trying to create, this, two-sided argument, and people fighting against each other just on the city council, and talking about what do I bring and how, do I see myself? Look, I'm a pastor. I'm going to be honest. I want to be upfront, and I'm not in this for any self-interest. And we're going to bring out the difficult talking points and items on the agenda for the city council meetings.
Yeah.
And I might disappoint some citizens in Selma. Why? Because we have a different view.
Yeah.
Right. But my view is, again, to help promote a healthier community and a healthier, I'd say, culture. And like you're saying, Selma is positioned in a great place, but people look down on us. People look down because of that cultural type of, attitude that comes forward with customer service or just presentation, all of the stuff that we hear going outside of Selma when we are outside of the community. Or where are you from? From Selma. Oh, you have that little stigma. Oh, you're from Selma.
True.
Unless you're part of like a sports team that was respected, a wrestling team, things like that have a little bit of a prestigious name from the history. And by the way, my uncle helped build that program at Selma, a wrestling coach for years, very respected man, is in the Selma Athletic Hall of Fame. We have a little Hall of Fame. And so, we have like, a different, I would say, a vibe. We want to bring Selma up. We want people to feel that same way. And I'm getting tired of just, being average, and we want to change Selma. We want to bring again, I'm going to keep saying it, a cultural change, a mindset change. We're positioned perfectly right along that corridor of Highway 99. We have a lot of businesses. We have a lot of income per capita for our city. With our auto mall that's there, you just can't find good places to eat like you're talking about.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to go outside and find places to eat. But just cultural shifting is where we need to be in a mindset. And as a pastor, I think that is a perfect, person to have representing the city. Is we deal with a lot of people who are tired of living the way they're living, and they come to us for help, and they're tired of their old lifestyle and they want to change. And I'm tired of the way Selma is and the lifestyle, it's, if we could say that, the lifestyle that we have in Selma, and we need to change. So those are just my roots of where I feel we need to go.
Yeah, that sums up a lot, because again, what you're saying is, the separation of church and state, and I got to ask this question because this type of, because again, there's a lot of followers that I have, you know, that, man, I love these people to death, man. They are part of the LGBTQ community. They are a part of the liberal, you know, just, you know, but one thing, they have a huge problem because churches always have this, churches have stigmas about themselves. Oh, they judge, they say we're this, they say we're that, you know, and my impact or my connection that I've had, because I've been down Tower, I've been around Central Valley, man, and I don't tell these guys I'm a Christian. I don't tell these guys I'm anything. I live it out. And then when they find out, they tell me, like, that's what a Christian's supposed to be. You never once, you know, and you never once told me why I was wrong. You just showed me love, you know? And so, and I think that's kind of where, I think for me in this show, that's where I wanted my actions, you know, not put a label on me, man. But I think where a lot of people would have a problem, like you said, how can a pastor, you're a Christian and I'm not, I'm a Catholic, I'm this, I'm that, you know, so I don't believe what you believe. How do you how do you connect with those people that don't like Christians, that hate churches, that hate, you know, and they say, well, separation of church and state. What's your message?
Well, it's not my message, Jose. It's the message of the God of the Bible. And people say, well, how could a God of the Bible, you know, consider, you know, homosexuality an abomination and things? And if we want to go there, I'll go there, because I'm pretty bold. It's not my words. If I'm a believer in God and He's given me a standard to live by, then I can't change that. It's unchanging. God is unchanging. But here's the thing. There are two things that Jesus was trying to be trapped, and they were trying to trap him. And they said, well, what are the greatest, you know, commandments out there? And he says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, strength, right? That's kind of my paraphrase, but it's, you know, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, strength. The other one is love your neighbor as yourself, right? So what do we do currently now? You know, we live for ourselves. A lot of people live for themselves.
That's true.
And I think it's on both sides. So, you know, if we're isolating Christians and say, well, they don't love, they hate, I think a true Christian, I really do, and I should say, I believe a true Christian is going to love God and embrace people no matter where they're at. I say four things. There are four things that I say. God encounters you right where you are. He tells you the truth about yourself. He offers you a pardon or forgiveness of your sin. And number four is it's your choice. I think we get hung up on our choice, our will. And those are the things that we struggle with, is we interpret from our own perspective of how God should be. But God tells us is who He is. Now we need to align our will with what He says. And so we had a big issue, and I'll talk to this point because people are wondering what my position is in the community. I've been asked. But last June, I was in Texas, and I got a picture sent to me on my phone, and there was a pride flag flying in downtown. And they said, hey, did you know about this? I said, no. So I reached out to some of my pastor friends, and they didn't know about it. And so I did my homework and went back, and I found that, you know, a few meetings back, it was an item that was presented to the city council, and the city council pretty much voted unanimously to have the flag flown in downtown Selma. Well, normally in something like that, either one of the pastors that's there to do the invocation will kind of alert the community and say, "Hey, this is something that we might need to really consider. Is this going to lead to anything further? In our community and our culture that we want to see here?" And so, pastors started uniting. We started getting together and started talking about it. Like, what do we want to do with this, and how do we represent? So we showed up at a city council meeting, and we, kind of like it was during COVID, so we had to call in. So I listened to all the pastors give their things, and they really took a biblical stance on what the Bible says, and they kept going. And I'm thinking, I think it goes beyond that, really, because if we talk about inclusion and equality, and we talk about all of these words that the flag represents, I'm thinking we already have a flag that represents that. That's the United States of America flag, the red, white, and blue, and the stars and stripes on that flag. That's the flag we have that unifies us together. For one group to, try to come into another community or wherever, and they say, "Hey, we want that flag. We want our flag to be flown." I'm going to stop and say, whoa, who are you? What do you represent? And let's take a look at that. It's not just targeting one group of people. I mean, it could be Nazi skinhead, Satan worshipers, or whatever, gosh, I just started thinking of and all the perverseness that could come from it, but also all of the misrepresentation really that comes from the message of that group of people. That's not who Selma is. Yeah. So our thoughts were, let's look at the ordinance. Let's see what's written in the policies of, flying a flag in Selma. And they weren't well defined, and so that got adjusted a little bit. And here's my perspective. I have some gay and lesbian relatives. And for people to say that I'm against the gay and lesbian people, I have family. I love them. I love my family. Now, do I agree with how they live their life? And again, you got to understand, this is a sex talk. Yeah. When it comes to sexuality, this is a sex talk. And so, to have a flag in front of our children and people out there and how they have sex, let's just be real. Yeah. Because that's what is coming out there. And so that representation for us is like, why do we have to have a flag for that? We don't have a heterosexual flag that we fly in the downtown community. Oh, because they're misrepresented or underrepresented, and we need to give them a voice. It's like they can live the way they want. They're Americans. If they choose to live that way, they can. But what about the majority of the other people living in the community and the communities around us? And so that's what I'm saying. Again, that's a big issue. It is. It's a big issue here in Fresno or in this area. It's a big issue throughout the state. And all we're saying is that we don't hate people. We don't teach that at our church. You come as you are. And I say this, but we won't compromise what the standards of the Word of God are. Well, it's archaic, Pastor. That was for back then. Yeah. Like, God is unchanging. If we served a God that was changing, we'd all be messed up. The only way that we can get our lives straightened out from addictions, from different habits, different issues that we're broken, that get fixed in our hearts, is we have a God who's constant and He is unchanging. And that will, thank God that He is that way. And if He wasn't that way, really, why worship God? Yeah. Why worship a God who is changeable? That doesn't make sense to me. And so I think the standard of where we're at and where we need to go has to be built around, again, our constitutional rights of what we have. But also, when we talk about freedom and equity, it's everybody. It's everybody together. And so we feel, don't let one group subject the other people or the majority. And that's just the way things work. Yeah. It's a majority, vote type of thing. Let's let everybody have a voice and speak that out. And whoever wins, wins. All right. And that's kind of what it comes to. Honestly, that's what it comes to. But my push is, let's get the church, Christians involved. Christians, you can be a voice in the political scene. If you don't like the way things are going, vocalize it. Call your congressman, your congresswoman, call them and speak what you want. Don't be afraid. So,
one thing I know, because again, what this show has brought is a voice for people, man, to come talk. Again, I've had, some guests on that are lesbian, bi, gay, all that. And, and one thing they always talk about is their voice, And so one thing I'll say is, like the Hillsboro Baptist Church, those guys, God hates, as much as I can't stand those people, they have that right to say that. It's attacking. It's wrong. But again, they have that right. So who am I to take that from them? And I think where I want to stay is like, look, I don't agree with you, man. I don't agree with your lifestyle, but that's not my place. But civil. Let's live as civil human beings, not a state, not a religion, just civil human beings. Start there, foundational. Then as you grow, then you can find common ground, and that's where I think awesome. That's what I hear from you. I genuinely hear that, because I don't like, silencing one just for the other. Even though the other is a small community, doesn't mean that they're not important. Right. It's just that we can't let a smaller, whether they'd be any type of person or any group, dictate the whole, know. And for me, I want everyone to have their voice. Yeah. Especially Christians, pastors, believers, because that's why I hear that. That's what I'm starting to see is that we're losing that voice. You can't be this, you're a bigot, you're misogynist, you're this, you're that.
It's like reverse discrimination.
It is.
You're telling me
it's a double
that
standard.
I can't say that. Yeah. But then on the other hand, it's like, wait a minute. Yeah. I can't voice my opinion, voice based on, again, what I would say is the standard of truth. Wow. But again, I mean, we could talk round and round about that. The thing about this, though, Jose, too, I want people to understand is that we're Americans. Wow. We live in America, and small town America is where I think values and again, I say it's faith, family, and I believe that community within our community. We go to different churches. We worship God. We actually have a big Sikh community in our town, and they worship on the other side of town. I don't close them out and say that they're un-American. That is not even close to any language that we speak as Christians. We embrace people. We love people, and I'm going to stand for the truth that I represent. And I'm not going to compromise that. That's not going to ever be compromised in me. But one of the things that I just want to say, if anybody ever has any issue, the best thing to do is to dialogue about it, to talk about it without any animosity, without any preconceived ideas and judgment upon the individual. And I believe that's been projected on me because as the pastor, we don't need a pastor coming in, into politics. He's going to be, this person that's going to be against you. You'll probably find out that I'm probably more for you than against you in living life together in community. Again, we're Selma residents. We're Americans. Let's follow the Constitution. Let's follow our policies, our ordinances within our local government. We have those to be, again, productive, better citizens and make Selma better. And I'm gonna stand by that, and I'm not gonna compromise, again, who I am, but also I'm gonna represent what I think the city should become and just go forward with that. So I
know that's tough, man, because running for mayor, running for that's huge because you get the kickback,
always.
You get the debates, you get that. I know I would have a hard time, there's this comedian, Cedric the Entertainer, talking about if they had a black president before Obama. If we had a black president, he gave real confrontational. Like he was in this, like he gave this whole example. It's like he's up there at the podium and the reporter's all, tell us about Monica Lewinsky. And he's like, what?
Yeah.
Hold up, dog. Hold up, man. You gonna ask that in front of my wife? He's like, I'd be that guy, and everyone walk away, man, president fight too much. It's like, that would be me, but again, it takes a different person, man, to know that they can take it or receive it, And I think when it comes to taking and receiving, especially with, your speech, what you stand for, hey, man, if you're willing to give it, you got to take that same amount back. You can't have a double standard,
never.
Because that's where, again, we live in this society where they just want to, that's it. I'm done. You're done, locked off. And all they do is scream and yell at you, and it's like, it's like, I'm trying to talk to you. It's like, oh my God, just, then you hit them and it's like, see, look, they're the aggressive ones. Well, it's like you were agitating the whole time. So it'd be very difficult for me. Man. I'm so glad God didn't call me for that because I'd be in jail. I was like, man, Jose, fight too much. It's like
it happens, man. I think I tell people being in ministry, I don't know if there is another job out there that would prepare you.
That is so true.
To be the mayor, like any other job out there, I would say being a pastor is a great training ground to be the mayor and leader.
Because you're a shepherd, man, and sometimes that sheep they bite. Yeah, they bite back.
They talk
like, I don't want to see you. It's like
they talk back, talk smack.
Yeah. But well, in saying that, then I want because these and we're talking about qualities now of people and pastors and leaders and individuals. So let me ask you this: what are the qualities that a mayor needs to be effective?
Yeah, so the way Selma city government is, it's like a mayor doesn't really have to be persuasive to get his job done because in our local government, we are a team. The mayor has 1/5 of the vote. He doesn't have any more power. And so a big quality is to be a team player in our local government. You have to learn how to get along with everybody else. Now, are you going to agree on everything? Absolutely not. That's the thing where I see the struggle is on our city council right now, is that when something gets shot down and they get voted down, and then the next time it's like they try to like hammer it over and have one up on the other, like you voted no against me, so I'm going to vote no against you on this.
Just to vote no.
Just to vote no and to hold a grudge. It's like, this is us. Like, hey, this is going to benefit the city, and we need people to figure out, like, get over the last vote and vote currently now on what is the issue at hand to bring momentum, back in so we could grow. And those are the issues that I think it's a big one, and a good quality is you have to be a team player, and you have to figure out how to navigate, if my feelings get hurt, suck it up, buttercup, those are the things, like you got to suck it up.
That's old school right there, man.
And move on, get to the next item. There are a lot of things that I feel like we have losses in our federal government, on our state level, and then even on our local government level. But we have to figure out, don't let that keep us from moving on to the next item, which would promote a victory for all of us as the city.
Yeah, and that's one thing I do notice, because we're people, we're human.
Yeah,
we hold grudges. That's like our natural state. It's like, if you don't have Jesus, it's like, it's like, no, let it go. Because a lot of these council members vote on their feelings. Like, you burn me, guess what? I'm gonna take it out on you and not vote, and forget why they're there is for the city of Selma, for their community.
Other people.
Yeah, and it's like, get past your job that you ran for is not your job for you. It's for the people.
It's for the people.
And if you forget that, then that's where I think that's where the decline starts happening, because then you start focusing on your agenda, you start focusing on your beliefs, and you make it around you. And that's a huge problem with our state now. And it's like they forget, we're for the people, and they have all this, they have, like the administration now, they have all these answers of why they're for us, but then they have every reason to not support and really help the citizens of America, and so
totally
get past the feelings, man. And that's where I think that Selma has that problem, because I know I've heard, me working in news, you see the drama all in all these small little towns, when it comes to this stuff, and it's like,
it's out there.
It's like you talk to these council members, man, you guys are just salty people, man. Y'all need to grow up. Let it go.
Yeah, we're hoping that's changing. Again, I have great relationships. I'm supported by all the council except for two. And they're the two that are up for election.
How many councils members?
So we have five people.
So that's good.
I have a district, which the districts are a little, off right now because they got readjusted, but 4 districts in Selma, and each of the council members I have endorsements from. And again, except for the mayor and his sister-in-law, which is a whole different talk show, man, which is interesting really, because I really didn't understand maybe even the gratitude, the what's the word? I just lost the word. The gravity or whatever,
magnitude.
The magnitude of that, having, again, family on the city council. It's always 2 against 3, or they had another council person on there that was 3 against 2 the other way, and it kind of flips back and forth. But just that itself is a red flag for me. And when I started asking questions, nobody could give us a definite ordinance to say that family members cannot rule on the council. That should change. That's part of my thing of, again, if there's any reorganization and moving things forward, that should change. There should be something in our city ordinance that would protect the people. Because now what we're seeing is that there are several family members that are actually running for other areas, hospital board, school board, and they're all related. So I'm thinking, now hear me, Selma. Shame on Selma for tolerating that and for putting up with that. Because I think if we are going to complain, then we need to complain with action. And so we need to step into those realms, run for school board, run for health board, and run for a council, and make it a run, give it a shot and voice, your concerns and get people out there to vote for you and represent them. But I'm just tired of the whole family type of dynasty that's trying to be created in town. I have a brother who's more opinionated than me. If both of us were on the city council, it would probably be a problem. If people would see us together, man, Quintana boys up there,
they fight too much.
Well, not only that, it would be hey, we're changing the city, because we want to. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I see it.
You're setting your little kingdom up there.
Yeah. That's a problem with me. I have a big problem with that, and thanks for the platform to kind of share my concerns of what's happening, because a lot of times, you're sitting out and you do tell people, it's people that are around you. I think it needs to be broadcast around.
Yeah. And this will go on News Around Selma. And I'm going to cut up a bunch of clips. The full episode will be out.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's kind of where the whole question and position about running for mayor, you people want to know you. People want to know your experiences. They want to know how committed, how, how important it is to you, So another question I have is, have you been, and you've mentioned, where you work at now, but have you been in an administrative position before? Maybe mention a challenge that you faced and how you managed it.
Yeah. So my career path as a nurse, you start at staff level, then you move into which I would say pre-management level. You become a charge nurse on the floor. Then you can step into realms like I did with clinical supervisor roles. And then you move beyond that. And so part of my whole, career path was kind of following that sequence. Then I went into hospital administration. I worked as a nurse manager for a small little hospital in south of Dallas in Lancaster, Texas. And I'm talking like fundamental, like grassroots, like learning. You start from the bottom up. I had really good mentor as a manager that was one level higher than me. He was tough on me. He was tough. And Jeff, if you ever watch this, thanks for being hard on me. It was a good grooming time for 2 years, but I found something out, Jose. Top level management, kind of like, you catch everything down from the top down, and then from bottom up, from employees, they just bring everything up. So you're like in the middle. Middle management is a tough place to be. And so I have a lot of empathy for that level of manager that, again, you have these different dynamics that you want to change something, but upper management says no. Again, you're hearing the voice of the people, and you're hearing it needs to change. It needs to change, or else they're gone. They want to walk out. And so you're trying to figure out that balance. And so for 2 years, I successfully led a team where I had the largest retention. They always were having people cycle through that department. I was hiring them and holding on to them. And then there's always that excuse like, oh, I don't do that. I can't do that. And I say, hey, let's train you. So we built up a training department, and we trained the nurses. And for us, it was like, they're going to help us, but they could take that skill if they ever leave. And so again, I was able to retain the staff there, had a highest retention rate of all the managers in that little hospital for a couple of years. So that was kind of a little claim to fame. I went beyond that, and I went to work in home health, and I had the experience of growing a small home health from zero to becoming a powerhouse home health agency. I was like the second RN to be hired for that. And that was just a life change for me. My girls were getting ready to go to school. I wanted to be part of their life in school and programs and evenings and things. So it worked out perfect for me. But then same thing happened. I kind of worked my way through the rankings and moved up to a clinical level supervisor. So if you looked on a flow chart, you had your, owner, director of nurses. And then I was like part of that third level management team. And it was dealing with people as employees as well as patients and families. And so it's everything together, right? Everything together. But walking away from that has built me into the leader that I am, taking every experience now, and it's leadership. And I hope people understand it's leadership. Okay. So even if you don't have experience in a certain, realm, leadership translates everywhere in every level of industry. Leadership, you could build your leadership skills, even as a student, you are in student government. You lead, again, other students, and you're building skill sets as a leader. One day, maybe one of those, people at Selma High School on the leadership team will be able to take that and move forward into a career. Then that career will translate them further. Maybe they'll run for mayor. And I'm hoping that. I hope I inspire a lot of people to run. And even those people that oppose me, it's going to provoke them to run. You know what I mean? It's like, it's one of those cycles that happens in our culture. But here's the thing. Leadership is leadership. You're either a leader or you're not a leader. You can develop skills. Skills can be sharpened, but I think there are natural born leaders. And I've discovered that about myself. Everywhere that I've gone, I've been moved into a position of leadership. Every job I've had, it's been a natural moving toward that. Even when I didn't want to, people ask me, hey, can you lead this team? Can you be a part of this team? Can you join this committee? That happens to me at work even today. Hey, we need you on there. You became highly recommended. I need you to serve on this committee. So all of these things coming forward. just shows me, again, that's a confirmation of my leadership ability that I have to come into a role or come into a field, even if I don't have experience, and just lead. Now, strong leaders, you'll see this. Strong leaders will adapt quickly, very quickly. We absorb. I'm very analytical in my mindset.
You are.
I look at things from a big perspective. Good leaders do that, and you have to consider the bigger picture. It's not one tunnel. And I'll just say this again, this could be our city council. If you're tunnel vision like this and you don't see the bigger picture, we're all going to suffer. Our city is going to suffer. If you get so honed in on one thing, like a park or something like that's not, you're going to lose the greater, you know what I'm saying?
So,
those are the things that you're going to lose.
We need a park.
Yeah. You're going to lose. And everything else feeds off of that, you know, and it's just crazy. So my thing is that let's not lose the bigger picture. Let's not lose this image out there of what Selma can become. And so let's all, again, a good leader is going to see that. Now, again, I'll throw the talking points out there.
Do it.
The mayor he's not the boss of the city of Selma. The mayor is not the boss of the city of Selma.
Let's go.
You get that, right?
I get that.
So we have a city manager, and here's the difficulty here. City manager was like me on a middle management. You're kind of trying to figure out, you got upper people up here who hired you. Then you got the people down here that you're managing from the staff. Then you got other people that kind of impact your role. That's our city manager. He's got a tough job. We have a great city manager now that is helping.
Who is he? Name him?
Is Santillan.
Okay.
Yeah, like Mr. Santillan. So Fernando. And so, you have these people that just don't understand that on the council or in the city. And it's like he has a plan that he's following, and this plan has been designed for us as a master plan. Let's stick to the plan. I'm a playbook guy, right? As a quarterback, stick to the playbook. And we have a playbook on every team we play. Every situation's different. You design different plays to win. And so with this, again, general plan that we have for the city of Selma, if we were to stick with that, Jose, we would be I'd say a better city in the city of Selma if we would have stuck with the playbook. But just politics, man.
Yeah.
Politics, money, things like that.
Their own agendas. Again, it comes down to like, how can I get mine? What can I just show? And a lot of it is just that, it's like, look at thumbprint.
Yeah, I made that happen.
Yeah, see that? And they want to make sure. It's like, again, man, it's not about you.
Yeah.
And that's when I have a problem, because when I was in Selma, I was a youth pastor there, and it's like, you see these hierarchy people. It's like, man, you guys haven't done nothing for how long?
Yeah.
How long have you been saying the same thing? And it's like, I'm just going to do it on my own.
Yeah.
And so I think I've learned now, it's like what you're saying, because I can relate to this. You guys listening and watching, this is who I am as a person. It's like, I'm not here to get mine. Sure. God's called me for this. I thought my position in life was in church. I thought it was in a building. I thought it was a title. People don't follow titles, man. They follow you. They follow your leadership. They follow your heart. Because titles can only get you so far when they see past the title that you're not what you portrayed yourself. Which is hype. And so I think, hearing you again as a believer, I'm never gonna. Romans 1:16, man. I'm not ashamed. And I know I'm not perfect, and I know everybody that listens and watches, they relate to that. Because I don't put myself up in a position where like, oh, I can't be like him. No, man, I'm just like you. Right. You're just like the people you're trying to help and lead. Because you've had the humble beginnings, like you said. You were in the fields. Yeah. I grew up like that. My dad put us in the fields. So a lot of people are like, oh, dang, and they don't know that story behind the glory. Sure. That's what I like to say. Because again. But one thing I love about these podcasts, man, you're not limited. You don't have 15 seconds to answer this question. Yeah. It's like, no, man, this is a platform that's going to be open, and people will listen and watch, especially when it comes to their interests. Like, he's actually for me when you actually hear it. Like, instead of hearing those quick propaganda clips, those like, Louis is this, he hates, no, man, that's not you. I've experienced you, and so
come and talk to me. I love the dialogue.
Yeah. And the thing, and now in saying that, people come and talking to you and stuff, like, how do you envision your daily routine? Yeah. Because as mayor, people are gonna be like, hey, Louis, what can you, and you're in the public eye, how do you envision your daily routine?
So even now, like I'm being asked, like present your, what can you do for Selma and all this, and it's very similar with every candidate. Everybody is like stating what they can do, what they will do.
Almost cliche too. It's just
Yeah,
real
but you don't want
redundant.
to overpromise. You have 2 years in office as mayor. That's the way they designed it right now.
Everybody's gonna get coffee free.
Everybody gets a longer recess. That's how it was in
Free
school.
lunches, it's like be realistic.
Yeah. And so to change things in 2 years, if you think about how politics are done, things might be voted on, yes, but you won't see the outcome of that or the fruit of that until later. Even a few years later. But so I know my realistic approach in that. I really believe that once I'm on, and if things go the way that I believe they can go, then that could be extended. My term the next time, win again. But if you look again at how is it that a mayor can impact the city, and what I can see and what I can do in that short amount of time, I would say that unity on our city council is most vital and important for me right now, and to kind of help change that and redirect me to that question if you can. But
basically your daily routine.
My daily routine. So
yeah.
So when you look at, again, whatever facilitates unity in my daily routine, I'm going to facilitate unity within the city council. Same thing within the community. I know people always, they reach out. I understand this as a pastor. I can't meet with everybody all the time, but I will make an effort to do it. I will make an effort. Like, don't count me, too busy to do it. Let's just try to meet over it. I have a lunch appointment after this meeting with somebody in the community, and so it's just one of those things where you have to make that effort and make yourself available. Now, I have a job that actually facilitates that, so I can plug things in and around my schedule. Can still be loyal to my employer, do my job, handle ministry things. I'll have to make a phone call after this to schedule something for church, and so it's just, you can do a lot more if you live on a schedule, but you have to be intentional about it. And so again, unity among whatever facilitates unity in my day with the city council, whatever facilitates unity among the city staff, whatever helps build our community. I'm going to give it my best effort. Will I make everybody happy? Nope, because you can't make people happy 100% of the time.
There's
right?
always
You
that
just
one
can't,
or a few
you
people
can't
that
do
say,
it, but I'm going to do my best to try to work for it. And I would say this, whatever I can do in my routine to make myself better, I'm going to do. I'm going to learn. I'm going to apply myself, different ordinances, county ordinances, things like that. I'm going to apply myself to make myself more excellent. Then I expect that from other people on staff, our city manager, everybody, even on our own council. I want us to be excellent at what we do. If we don't know something, we work toward that. So I will apply myself. Again, my daily routine would be applying myself to learn how to be a more excellent leader, how to be a more excellent council person as the mayor, and also just to represent Selma well. I want to be able to be, which the mayor is the face of the city. And there are a lot of self-interest that I see even just with our current mayor, things that, you can't be above the other members. That's not your role. You're part of the team. Yes, you're the face of the city, but make sure you're leading that way. And those are the things that I just have a really big challenge right now. We had a big thing in our neighborhood yesterday that was unpermitted. They didn't have a permit for it. Who did they get permission from? I think you can guess. All of that stuff, has to come out and be exposed. You can't lead that way. So my daily routine, hey, if people have a complaint, bring it down, make a formal complaint, go to the city council, let's talk about it. I actually have been meeting with people throughout the campaign, and they have legitimate complaints. So they're telling me, and I'm saying, you need to voice that. You go be the voice. And so in just talking with people, I'm encouraging that, facilitate that, to say, you go get your 3 minutes at the council meeting, and you let the council know that your corner is a concern. Your neighborhood, it's concerned. You have people that speed through here, that's a concern. Yeah. Take that to the council, and let's move that forward.
Well, I think from a little, I don't want to say that's a little thing, because I've covered horrible news stories where kids are going to school, man, hit and run. Oh man, concerns like that matter. It's like everyone think, it's just a Karen complaining about a street sign. No, it's legitimate. So from every complaint, every issue in Selma from the community, because you live there. You know, it's like you gotta voice that opinion, because I think you actually led into the next question on like your strategy and your mindset, you know, for this position, man. It is. I mean, you've answered that question, you know, and so I think now, because we're talking about people voicing their opinions and you know, challenges. What do you think? What is the main challenge that you foresee in this role?
Yeah, I think again, it's the expectations of people.
Yeah,
And again, to have a realistic expectation of where we're at currently. We have a hole to dig out of, but I believe with the right team, and I always think of the image of, you know, when you go through the military obstacle course. My wife and I did a mud run in Dallas. I was in Fort Worth, and we had a friend of ours, Lamont, who was this like just, you know, ripped guy who was in shape, and we were just trying, you know, and so. Some of the obstacles we couldn't do just by ourselves. We needed his help to help us, you know, lift us up, and we all helped each other. So you have to have that like team concept being built forward in order to get there faster, or to even just, you know, get out of it. And so I think that's going to be a very interesting go. I should say, when I become the mayor, is to go forward in that and to bring people along the journey with that, and building that trust on the team to say, we're in this place now, but let's work together to get out of it. Let's build together. And that includes our council, and that includes police, fire, all the staff, you know, our city manager, all the staff. Let's work to get out of this rut. And if they see us working together, everybody in the community, and working to make Selma the better city it can be. And it can be, yes. Yeah. I believe that. It ought to be that. And every citizen, though, too, Jose, that's the thing. Don't just rely on the people, you know, at the helm. Everybody has to do their part. Everybody watching out for everybody, every citizen doing their part. And I just think, again, like, enough of the, I would say the individualism is good, but you know, enough of the me and this is my ball and you can't play with me no more. Like, let's figure out how to play together. Hogging. Yeah. Quit ball hogging for your own sake. I did want to say something, because I was reminded of this, which I wasn't aware until I came into the race. Part of that is this: there are people that want to make a difference so bad that they will change their address to go and represent a district where they don't live. Really? That's happened. And it's a big process. It's a painstaking process. No, I don't want to do that. You can do it, but I don't think it's very integrous, and I don't think it's legal. I wouldn't do it. You know, but it's happening. Yeah. It's happening. So to all the candidates that have done that, and I want to say, call them out. Yeah, that's something that I don't think that is the way that we want to have people, again, get us out of the hole or get us out of that rut. Like, I want to do my part. Well, do your part in your district and run against the people in your district. Don't go into another district just because you want to have power and you want to be part of the influential change. You know, you represent your area where you live and be honest about it. I have my address. I'm in District 3. I'm running in my, you know, again, the mayor's kind of, you know, at large there. But if I was a councilman, you know, Louis Franco is District 3. He's running against Sarah Guerra. Vote Louis Franco, you know. You have John Trujillo, District 2. Vote Trujillo. People don't like Trujillo. Like, look at the other guy, you know. Come on. These are what you have to do. There could be, again, if you're looking at two opponents running head to head, maybe you may not like somebody, but they're the better fit for the job at this time. And that's what I say about myself. I believe I'm the better fit for the job at this time where Selma is. But be honest. Be honest where you're at. Be honest. You know, we have somebody running on school board, Estea Kessler. My mom used to work with her years ago, and she's always been for like the students. She's always been, you know, for promoting, you know, a better system, better school system. And, you know, I mean, Estella, if I was in your district, you'd have my vote. You know, those are the things that I say need to happen. We need people like that are not self-interest driven and bring them out. And if they are, I hope their time is short-lived. And if they're on the council now, then they won't be there, you know, later. Because I want to be transparent, and that's how I want to lead. I want to lead from that. And if you're not honest as a person right now on the council, your time is short. I really believe that your time is going to be very short.
Well, could people see past like we hear the BS? It's like there's only so much you can just say. Yeah, we're for the people. Yeah, we're, and it's like and it's like All right, well, you keep saying that. It's been like 4 years. We're still in the same hole. It's actually deeper. You know, and so and that's actually a good segue to the next question. It's like, because you find these council members, these mayors, these politicians get like stagnant. They get like the hype campaign I'm in, and now it just plateaus. How will you stay motivated in this role?
Yeah, just again, it's just looking at the bigger picture and just knowing how much work we have to do. I think self-interest stagnates, the progress, our progress and moving forward. I'll give you an example of something you just said, reminded me. So, our mayor and councilwoman, his sister-in-law, Sarah, they campaign on protecting the citizens and, we need a safer community, but then they vote against the school resource officer and helping things like that. Or, there was a big thing where Mayor Robertson, he did not want to support, the previous police chief, two police chiefs back, and then they opposed the building of a new police station. And like, it was just a big fight. And then now he puts his, hey, I'm for the police and all this stuff. I just don't like that double, minded thing to come out. Again, that's politicking to me. Yeah. But say who you are, stick with it, and be true to the man or woman you are. And don't just like, oh, now it's like, I want, like you said, you want to put your fingerprint on it and your thumbprint on it. I mean, I'm not a politician, Jose. I'm not a politician. I just want to be a fair representative to the community and the citizens of Selma and state what I say from my mouth. Now, again, I might see something that I'm not sure exactly how it would work, and then I'll correct it. It's like, hey, man, look this is what I thought it was, but this is what it is for real, because I don't have the full story on the back end. But once I know, you'll know. Once I understand it, you'll know. Now, we are guarded with, the Brown Act and things like that, where you can't disclose and what happens in closed session. That's just a legal thing. We can't do that. And we have a lawyer in the city that will help, us from really putting ourselves in jeopardy. But when you have things like that in our current council, where it has caused some inner, turmoil and strife and contention, it does not look good to me on the person. But then there's a lot of rhetoric and a lot of talk around it, and now it looks like they're for it. Come on, that doesn't play well with me at all.
And again, I think people are like, it's one thing I don't like about these politicians, man. They think we're dumb. They think we're just like, oh, they won't notice that. I was like, no, the people do. If
it's happening in Selma.
It's happening, and it's happening nationwide, and I think now, again, that's kind of really where, again, it's like, again, people see past it, and I think when it comes to like strengths and, like, mention a strength that qualifies you for this position, because I think that's what people are going to see first, because again, people, the not so educated person can still see past the hype, the fake, so maybe mention a strength that qualifies you for this position so they can, even like get that vote. You can get that vote.
Self-awareness is really big. I think you have to be self-aware. And so for me, again, just understanding where people are and even coming against me, I understand. Look, this is kind of like a game. It's like chess, right? So, I heard that I was slammed by my other opponent, or taking some jabs at, by me not being present at city council meetings and me not being involved. You got to look at the bigger picture of somebody. I'm not going to sit out here and take a jab at you, because you don't live my life. You don't live how I live. You don't understand my schedule. And I involve myself with what's available. Again, city council meetings are on YouTube. I watch those whenever I can. Watch them live. I watch them live whenever I'm at home. I usually travel during Mondays, so I can't be there, or I have something at church. I can't be live there because I have other responsibilities. Now, that will adjust when I do become mayor and have to step into the role of, in the city council meetings to help lead the council meetings. All of that will adjust. But I'm not going to stand at a city council meeting and campaign for myself with an idea or my own perspective on an item. That's one of the things that has frustrated me with the way people get up and they give their 3 minutes, the way our council meetings run. Now, again, everybody's given fair 3 minutes to share what their issues are. But it almost looks like a campaigning from, the podium, and they're saying basically this is their perspective of what they want to do. Like for me, I'm a little more self-aware, and I can look at this and say, do I really need to talk or do I not need to talk? And so just to me, I feel like I could bring that even from the dais, even from, the leading as the mayor, being very self-aware and what's happening. Now, when you're self-absorbed, we're in trouble. There are very, very self-absorbed people on the council. We're in trouble. Yeah. And it could go across, all of them, everybody. But that does not breed a healthy environment. So again, being self-aware, understanding where you're coming from, and you're coming from, and making sure, again, you're representing your district, Jose. What do the people of your district say, not what you say? Because I can say whatever I want to, my 3 minutes of concern as a concerned citizen, but you up there, guess what? You already made up your mind. Doesn't matter what I say from the podium. You've already made up your mind, and you're going to vote because you're self-absorbed into your own agenda and what you want. Listen to the community, listen to the citizens. And again, the majority that voice their opinion, we listen. We will listen. And I feel that's one of the qualities I'll bring forward. And
that's an important quality, because there's a lot of men, even take it to in a general aspect. There's a lot of men that aren't self-aware. Me being one of those at one time, I would say the past, man, because what they say, men don't mature till they're past 35, 36 years old. I'm 41. I've been matured 4 years, and I'm going to be real, so until
Is that right, Laura? Is it? Okay, wait, see how real I am? Okay, okay.
But that's the thing. It's like, I've seen that, and to be fully self-aware, man, even she tells me, if I'm out and about, I look mad. She's like, man, fix your eyebrows. She has my eyebrows. I just have these. She called them my horns. It's like I'm always. So I'm aware.
Just shave them off. Nobody will ever know.
Go shave them all off, And so, but that's the thing. It's like if you're approachable, people could come and just talk to you, and it's like, be aware of your facial expressions. Are you putting off a vibe that you're not approachable, or do you care or not? And that's where I'm. That's where I'm at. Because again, if you're not especially these men, because right now we live in a society where masculinity, men, all that is not. It's like, if that's not good, if you are that, it's bad. So I think I've learned now to be more self-aware of my surroundings, who I'm talking to, how I'm talking to people, and I'm not perfect at it. But I'm aware. Because I have my son, a young man. My generation that's going to keep carrying this on, and he's going to pass this on. So I'm not just living for me; I'm living for my generations, because what I put out is what they take in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thinking as men, we got to make sure it's like what we put out. The community, running for mayor, running, for a city council position, man. What you put out is what people are going to take in, and if it's not something for their interest and it's your own, people are going to see that. Being self-aware is a huge thing, especially in today's society.
Every position you have is it's important. If anybody's watching, listening out there, and you're part of a business, you're a business owner, you represent who you are to everybody you have influence on. And again, if you're a dictator, you're probably gonna have a big transition of people coming in and out. If you're a big demanding, person. Now, again, we all have our roles and responsibilities in the job we do and expectations to perform to that level. We understand that. But if you're not aware of what's happening in their life, you're going to be a horrible, boss, and things need to go beyond what, your tunnel vision, what you see. And again, that's what I'm just saying, that it needs to happen on a bigger scale in our community. And I think people do see. There's a couple guys that have a podcast. I think you helped them out. The Roger Orozco Show.
Those guys are good dudes, man. I like them.
They have a pretty awesome view, from the outside in. Joel Fedor is running for for school board right now, but it's kind of neat to see how they've kind of broken things down for citizens. They have that self-awareness, but also they want to help people become aware of what's happening in the community. They kind of illuminated, I think, for even me to see that they call it the family tree, of all the relatives getting involved in the same family to help run the city. And when you hear, things from the dais that are said, like, we need to work together, teamwork, that's true. But now when you have your sisters on board with that, and now all the monies are funneled toward what? projects you want. See, that's where the check and balance has to happen.
Yo.
You know, you got to be careful, Selma, with who you're allowing in to make the decisions for you, because it's not going to be in your interest. It's going to be in the best interest of whoever's there.
Yeah.
And so again, you know, my hats off to Roger Roscoe and the team that kind of do that with Joel. They're just making people aware of that. So
yeah, when saying that too, you know, this guy should, man, I love where this is going. It says like, this question is, how will you keep your subordinates informed on work issues?
yeah, so there's no, again, the role of a mayor, there's no subordinate underneath the mayor. He's part of a team. He's 1/5 of the vote. We have a manager, city manager, if you want to say. He's kind of like a subordinate, but he's held in check by the 4 other people as well. You work with them. You cannot dictate, the mayor should not dictate to any city staff what they should do or what they shouldn't do. He has no power or authority to do that. And that has happened, Jose. Sad, but that has happened. Now, here is the perspective that needs to go out to the community. Let the city manager do his job. If he's not doing his job, he'll be held accountable from the 5 people on the council. He's accountable to them, and he has to be legal. He has to follow, state, federal, laws, things like that. He's got a huge job. Let's let him do what he's been trained to do, and I know he can do well. Now it comes down to money, and he's spending too much money. In order to make money, you have to spend money. In order to grow, you got to invest. And it's not, and I think the word is that word. It's investing in where we need to go for our future, not just spending, money just to spend because we have it. We do have a surplus in Selma, and what, we're saving that for a rainy day somewhere. When does it ever get spent? And when does it ever get invested to help us grow beyond where we're growing? Infrastructure. Like I said, we're all going to say the same stuff. Infrastructure. So we have hard infrastructure, soft infrastructure, roads, sewer, all that. That's hard infrastructure. Soft infrastructure is our staff. All of the different things that we have with like police, fire. And by the way, I'm endorsed by the Selma Firefighters Association. I'm for our city employees. Let's make our departments better. And the way we do that is we let him, our city manager, do his job, help him bring our staff up where they need to be, and let's support him in that. That's how I see it. I don't have any, subordinates underneath me by way of me controlling. That's not the way it works. No. We're all working together, again, to make Selma better.
Well, dude, I mean, I'm sorry, dude. I don't want to say I'm sorry.
That's all right.
But like, again, that's where I feel like leadership, especially in a pastoral position, you're held accountable with your board members. It's not
totally.
This pastor says, it's my word, my way, the highway. And it's like, no, you have a team of men and that I've met that are great men that help you and that are behind the scenes, guiding the ship. Where should it go? You have a vision, and you have, there's a pace that you have to follow. And it's like, you have men that help you and assist you in doing that. So I see that on 2 different levels, on 2 different experiences.
I can speak to that from, again, the spiritual perspective in the public realm too. It's like in a church, you're the servant of the people, and if anybody that serves on our board, they're serving the congregation. They're not there for their self-interest or self-promotion. If they are, they don't last long, but they're serving, diakonos, a deacon. That is a servant. You're serving people. You're helping people. Same thing with the city council. We're servants, of the people. It doesn't mean like we're slaves of the people, but we serve, right? We help serve. And again, the best way we can serve is to bring our ideas forward, let the people speak, maybe bring their ideas forward and try to merge those 2 together and just figure out, again, how we could serve each other best. And that's just I'd say that's the better way that we need to do. Now, there has to be a leader. We understand that. And again, city manager, city council, that's the way it works. That's the way it works.
So in saying that, in position as a leader, mayor, pastor, you do come into meetings, and sometimes you get the yes, you're like, but sometimes you get the no. So what is your take on no for an answer?
Well, I always teach this, and no does not necessarily mean never. Okay. So no doesn't necessarily mean never. It's never going to happen. No can mean it's just not time yet. So a no is a not yet a lot of times. And I think when you're looking at city council, the no's maybe the plan isn't just right yet. Tweak the plan, make it, figure out, revisit it again, bring it back out. Those are the things that we just need to understand as a community. That no may just not be yet, and just work on that. So I would say being persistent in that with a quality plan, making sure you do your due diligence, how it's going to impact everybody. Again, fiscally as well, we want to be responsible. There's a big argument of where we need to build our next city park, and they wanted to build it over on Rockwall, and the mayor was pushing toward that. And I'm not sure what the new city council opponent is going to pitch, as well. But I'm looking at this as from a very practical view as a father. Would I want my child or even my grandchild to access the park underneath Floral, the freeway there? And how are they going to get there? Like, come on, be practical about it. You got to, again, look at the bigger picture. And then you got to make sure that if it's no, it may not be no forever. It's just not yet. Maybe Caltrans needs to come in, build a bridge, build something else, redesign that area. It's just not yet. So those are my things.
Yeah. Well, I think, when it comes to you want to build this big old park or you want to do something bigger, but you're letting the little things in the city go to waste. And I'm a guy that, man, take care of the little things, man. Sure. Biblically, the Bible says, take care of the little things, man. Just take care of the small things, and then you'll be trusted with many. And I think that's a mindset that I think council members, any type of politician should have. It's like, take care of this little. Yeah. Because you'll know eventually when it comes to the bigger things, you'll appreciate what you've come from in the little. Yeah. So, and I think where, we're talking about the community, it's like we're here for the community. And I follow the News Around Selma on Facebook. Shout out News Around Selma, folk. You guys are crazy. You guys are always like, what was that gunshot? Are those sirens? What's that noise? Yes, it's our gunshot. There's sirens, man. People who get shot or get in car accidents. What do you think?
Far less, though. Far less.
Yeah, far less.
Yeah, we have a great police chief now. He's doing an awesome
dude,
job.
I love him. He's a good, we were in the police station with Print Theory. Shout out Daniel Sarah. Yeah. They wall wrapped their conference room. And it was a beautiful, it's a beautiful print they put on there, man. The quote he used, But again, to get back, because again, News Around Selma, Selma News, all these other Facebook pages. I think if politicians or the mayor really want to know the heart of Selma and know their people, go on that and just scroll. What would you say to the citizens of Selma on News Around Selma? Because I'm gonna put this on that page. It's like you see all the concerns. You see seriously, the every time were those gunshots? Yeah. Then it's like you get 100, 200 people, saying the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, be a neighborhood watch leader. If you're concerned like that and you're watch out for your community. Join the community, neighborhood watch, and you could do that. And it was active at one time. I think it's coming back online in the near future, making sure we're all taking care of our neighbors. But if you look at criticism, it could be constructive or destructive. Okay. So there's a lot of destructive criticism in and around social media. And I want to say that if you have any criticism, in that forum, just be ready for backlash, because it could be perceived a certain way. And I say, if you have constructive criticism, bring it forward to the city council, bring it forward and bring it out, and let your voice be heard in that. But when it's just criticism for criticism, and it's not, again, a very, these, we would probably say they're all critical, but if it's just something that, you are voicing your opinion over, and you're doing it from a very critical and cynical in a way that is just, you look at social media posts and you'll find it, can you imagine if I'm the mayor and my wife goes on Facebook and she just starts hammering the community that, it's her opinion, and that right there, that's uncalled for, I wouldn't let her, I don't
think she would.
I would vote no for that. There's a way to be constructive in that. Maybe she may have some good input, but let it be good input, just quit trying to rile the pot in Selma. And that's what I see happening in and around, the Facebook and social media. It's like people just want to stir people up. And news around Selma, one of them is like no drama allowed. There's drama. It's like how do you really gauge that? You'd have to be really on that all the time and admin that like crazy.
Yeah.
But I just see that there is some animosity that not only comes from some of the family of the city leaders now. I think some of the more mature ones don't get on there. Honestly, they just let it go. I've been called out a few times. One guy was hammering me for walking with my jacket over my shoulder and making fun of me the way I walked. And anybody that walks with his jacket over his shoulder doesn't deserve to be the mayor. Yeah, it was crazy. Man, it was crazy.
You salty, man.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Grow up, get a life. You have a job.
And I was like, well, I didn't know that you knew that I was bow-legged, right? So I was going back and forth thinking like, I mean, I could make fun of myself and I'm good with it. But
I think that's the best person to be if you can laugh at yourself,
It was hilarious. I laughed. It was funny.
Yeah, it's funny because again, you get that. And man, I went on this. Oh man, I'm guilty. And news around Selma folk, I apologize, but I went on this thing where I was just like clowning people. It's like it's always the same thing. It's like get off your phone.
Yeah,
it's like,
are you Raj Ghul? Are you Raj Ghul? Okay. No. Somebody by that name was hammering like our.
I have a burner account.
No, I think it was been a burner account.
Yeah, so. It's funny because you get.
So Raj, where are you? Raj Ghul,
come at me, bro. Yeah. No, that's a funny thing. Is like, again, man, people are people, and we're all guilty of this. But it's like if your whole soul intent, and I feel like social media is a powerful tool, but man, it's man when you don't use it right, it's man, you can hurt people. Or you're so distracted, your life is on social media, you forget the real world. Because if like somebody says, hey, there's a gunshot right outside, they wake up, they're like,
yeah,
well, was that gunshots? And it's like someone's breaking your house. You want to put the post out.
Sure.
It's like, so you can get, it's like, again, it's like being aware, of what's important, and like you said, to be that dirtbag, to just talk and just knowing that's who you are. Because again, social media has really exposed people for who they really are.
Yeah.
And I think when, like you said, the mature ones are ones that are just like over it.
Yeah.
Because I'm hardly ever on it. It's only for this show, and I think, whereas mayor, you could use this or a candidate running for, you can tell your story, tell your message. And probably this is going to get a lot of comments. Yeah. Oh, that guy is this, or he's this, or they're, Fine. We welcome it. It's fine.
I'll even like sit down and have a conversation if you just keep your hands in your pocket. Don't be violent. That's what I say. Like, let's have a constructive conversation. Be a
human being, man.
Constructive criticism is listened to when you present it in a way that is, I would say, a non-hostile, and that's where I see a lot of that is hostility driven. Really just don't be hostile about it.
Have you seen that meme where these dogs are like, there's a fence in between, and then the gate opens up, and he's like, that's social media.
Well, I actually, the guy that was criticizing me, I'm like, hey, let's meet for coffee, and I was actually out of town, and then he's like, well, I work, and I can't make it. I'm like, well, when do you want to meet? And then he's like, well, how about tomorrow morning? I'm like, well, I can't meet tomorrow morning, but I can meet in the evening. Yeah, what are you running? You scared? I'm like, dude, I just offered you, I'm out of town. I can meet you later instead of in the morning. So this, I mean, things like that. I mean, they bother me, but I just try not to let it like dig into my soul, and
it comes with
it's part of it. Yeah. And next thing you know, he deleted all of his comments on Facebook. All of them were gone. I was like, whoa.
Like, where's the heat now?
I have them screenshotted, buddy. So
you are caught, But again, for this position, man, it's a heavy burden.
Yeah.
It is a lot. Yeah, the city manager is like the man, but you're the front person to take all the, the hits, But, going into this, if elected, when you win, what is your greatest fear as a mayor? If you thought about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think change has to be part of everybody's desire, right? Mm-hmm. If we want to see Selma change. And I think my greatest fear is that Selma would just kind of settle for the status quo. And we would just stay where we're at and not, want to follow the ordinances that the chief of police is, he's following them, removing cars that are not registered from the street. It's just unsafe to have things like that. And people get upset about it. Why are you getting upset? It's part of the ordinance. Well, they can't tell me how to live. Oh, yes, we can. You have laws to live by. City ordinances are there to maintain order. And if we want to beautify the city, then let's follow the policies and ordinances that are set forth. But if people don't want to and they keep pushing back, it's going to push good people out. And that's where my concern is
I left.
People.
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, come back. You know,
I want to come back.
Selma again. I mean, having like our housing issue, we can't build unless we have good sewer and and expand that and move that forward and have affordable housing. And people say, well, we need more low income. Well, I understand all that. We have actually standards in building and things, but I would like to see. I would say the middle class and our affordable housing come into Selma, but also we need some upper scale houses. We have people who, if you look at Fresno County, it's very entrepreneurial. We send our kids out to school and they come back, or they don't come back to Selma. They stay other places because there's more opportunity. But if you look at Fresno County, Fresno actually is a very amazing place to begin your business. It's a great entrepreneurial city, and you can start right here in the San Joaquin Valley. You can live in Selma and you can work all over the valley. I mean, that's one great place to live, but why not keep it at home as well? Start your business in Selma. I know the city council is, and again, applause to our city council, beautification project, moving toward helping businesses come into town, creating incentives for things like that. I want to continue that. We want to make sure that we are moving toward economic growth in our city, but then also looking at bringing people into Selma that can afford to live there. They're going to Kingsburg, they're going to Fowler, they're going to Reedley, they're going to Dinuba. Why? There's growth there.
They are,
and
Dinuba.
we need that in Selma. So come and help us grow Selma. Come and help us, change the dynamics of our city. And again, I think Selma is the example, and it can be the greater example to the cities around us. And that's what I look to do. And if we can't get there, that would be a big disappointment to me. But I believe we can. I'm a firm believer that we can do it. So.
Amen. I know we were going, that's one thing I love about podcasts. We can keep this thing going. There's no limit on your time. Let me ask you this then. What are some of the changes that you have seen, and how well do you handle change?
For now, again, when they agree and they work together, there's great change. And one of those was there was some opposition there, was to bring in like a new police chief that is for the city, for our community. And that's one big thing I'm happy for. And there's a lot to go on. So yeah, I'm going to have to take a break because I'm looking at the time here in just a minute.
Okay.
But if we want to
wrap, I'm down to wrap it up. I mean, we do this thing on the show where people listening, watching, man, what's your message? Why should they vote for you? And, talk to that camera and let them know why, and we'll wrap it up.
So this is my favorite part of what I do. So I believe, again, as a pastor, I represent, again, a life changed. My heart has changed. My family has changed. And the only change that we could see actualized for real, this is a real experience, is turning our hearts toward Jesus Christ. That's been my life, lived out. Is I saw night and day what it was to live a life without Jesus and a life to live in Jesus. It's changed my dynamics of how I live, my family. And again, people ask me, as a pastor, how are you going to do this? What are you going to do? I'm not trying to make the city government a church. The Constitution doesn't allow that, right? So again, knowing the Constitution, bringing things forward, though, from a biblical perspective of how I live my life. Again, I'm all about faith. I'm all about family. And just, again, I think about 10,000 things to say in this, but everybody has a faith system. And I said this on the last podcast I was on. Everybody has a faith system. If you're an atheist, that's your faith system, right? And if you are true, again, to that belief, then you're going to vote your convictions, right? That's who it's molded you. It's shaped you. My faith has been put in the Lord Jesus Christ. That is my faith system, and that's where I live from. My family is important to me. I live for my family. I love my wife. I love my girls. I love my extended family, my parents, my brother, my sister, my in-laws, my in-law brothers and sisters. Love them all. And again, I believe church is a big part of my life. That faith community is a big part of who I am, how it shaped me, and my network of friends. I live again, to be a part of community. And I want that to come into our community of Selma in a real way. Now, I understand we pay to Caesar what's due Caesar, right? Jesus commanded it. Just give back to Caesar what's him. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I pay my taxes. I do things according to the law, and I'm a good, productive citizen. However, on the flip side of that, I understand that my life in Christ has branded me, to be an image bearer of Jesus in public. And that means, again, living a standard of truth and righteousness from a biblical perspective. And if you disagree with me, hey, that's your belief system. But we can get along. Why? Because we have a constitution that frames our world, and we can stand by it. You got, your First Amendment, Second Amendment. Come on, stand with it. If you believe in it, go for it. Speak your mind. Speak your heart. That's your right here in America. But let's get along even if we disagree. That's it.
Man. And that's a good message. Again, if I was in Selma, I'd vote for you, man. I really would. You guys listening and watching, City of Selma, this doesn't go out on my whole platform. It's important to vote. It's important to, put your voice out there. And definitely, you guys, stay tuned. I got a good friend of mine coming on soon, Jose Moreno. He's a council member and all that. He's coming on too. So you guys stay tuned for that drop. I love you guys. We'll see you guys in the next one.